Hello, fellow humanoids and friends. How are the things going? Name is Dato, and today with me here is Shannon, as always. Gonna talk about very interesting stuff. So thank you very much for coming, Shannon.
So, although I believe most of the friends here have gone over the white paper and have watched some of the videos, um, what do you think, Dato? What do you think is the most unique aspect of the vortex?
Well, the most unique aspect is a very it's a difficult question, but it really depends on um, the the separability from the monetary network. Basically, like the voting power not being entangled with a token,
Mm-hmm.
like improve stake networks, but being distributed through, uh, among the human nodes because of their biological uniqueness and and their biometrics,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, system is like system evades becoming a plutocracy directly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, as one of our mottos is one human equals one node equals one vote. Um, Yeah, I guess it's in that sense, it is very different from the standard proof of stake networks. And, this in itself solves many of the issues of conventional DAOs. At the same time, um, as some have said, it brings up some topics that are more challenging. And, one of them being not everybody uh, is always involved in governance. They tend to not want to be involved in the governance process. How do you see uh, us facing this challenge of those who may not want to be involved in the governance itself?
Well, you're raising the question about governing. Uh, Basically, one of the basic governing problems out there is the apathy of voters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it really depends on like multitude of factors. One of them being like, who do you distribute you're talking to? Like, imagine you're like giving away the token to like ordinary people who are either buying this token for profit or just just doing it for some utility reasons, and they don't really have time to go into details about governance is going on inside the network, the questions that are being solved, and all the small problematic intricate things that are going in the various details.
Mm-hmm.
So they just don't have time for it, and it would be really hard to like gather all these people to work together to vote on something.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many cases when people distribute stuff and then they just are not able to deliver a quorum to like achieve any kind of consensus.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like a problem that any proof of stake network is like distributing its validate your power through monetary means is just has this awful problem, and it's really hard to overcome it.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously, um, we have 4 tiers of governors. We have, aside from the 4 tiers of governors, we have the regular human node, the participant of the network. And then we have the delegators, those that delegate their votes to governors, and then, of course, the governors, the citizen, senator, legate, and council. Um, so when we're talking about governing, obviously we're talking about the votes of those who have chosen to participate, correct?
To like to correctly answer that, we should probably talk about the principle itself. Like,
Okay.
the principle is that you gotta prove your devotion
Mm-hmm.
Every single time to be the part of the governance, and it means that if you want to vote, you have certain requirements that you have to conclude every month in terms of voting. And if you don't participate in governance, and because you don't have time,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't get to vote on stuff, or you
Mm-hmm.
don't get to get counted at all. But what you do get is you can delegate to people,
Mm-hmm.
and implying the principle of the censorship in terms of devotion on this level can make sure that only the people willing to actually participate in governance, because it doesn't require any money really, just requires your time and dedication. Yeah, if you're like able and ready to do that, nothing can stop you from being a governor.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be able to vote upon anything, and only you'll be counted like an actively governing entity inside the system. That's the main principle, to
Mm-hmm.
count only those who are actively governing. And like the requirements that are given to the governors every month
Mm-hmm.
are mathematically equal to the percentage of necessary quorum deliveries in some period of time,
Mm-hmm.
so that we ensure that some proposals that are in the proposal pool, they get voted upon
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, so that the process doesn't stop. And like you cannot gerrymander yourself out of it, you see.
Okay, cool. So, now, Dato, would you go just, as a refresher, you'd be willing to go through the various, so I say, requirements of each tier? I mean, obviously there's the proof of time, how long you have to be as a governor before, let's say, as a citizen before you get promoted to being a senator, then to on and on. But there's also, the aspects of proof of devotion, as you've mentioned. And there also are a couple other requirements, and such as maintaining the pin of the full stack of the Humanode network, and you know having one of your proposals approved by the Vortex. And if you'd go ahead and go into a little more detail about these aspects, it would be great.
Yeah, Shannon, before we move on, guys, thank you very much for coming here. This is not like a monologue stuff. If you gotta say anything, just raise your hand or write something in the Telegram.
Yes, and if you have any questions, do the same too, please.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it would be good to get from the very basics to the intricate stuff. So like to become a Humanode, right? One should go through biometric processing that would verify the uniqueness of human being and his actual existence through various liveness detection mechanisms used inside the biometric scheme itself. Yeah, and one has to pay for it also. Like, it's a small amount of money. Like, we'll try to keep it less than $20 at first, and then with scalability, things settled is going to become smaller. But basically by doing that, your biometric identity, which is pseudonymous, is kind of like acts like a stake inside the system, and a node appears based on your biometrics and starts to verify things inside the network. And a human node like that can participate in governance, which is called Vortex, inside our system. It consists of three parts: the proposal pool, the Vortex itself, and the thing that we call it's a thing like foundation, but we call it formation. So it's a formation, and there are certain governing ranks on which the vortex is based. As the validation and voting power are not entangled with the token, the way we understand how a person can progress through ranks or tiers without money is dependent on the time and the devotion of the person in the governance. So, for example, a person who is constantly governing, the time of his governance is counted. And there are four ranks that are really dependent on time and the different variants of devotion a person can do. So, like, the first tier is basically a citizen, and a humanoid becomes a citizen instantly when it joins the governing processes. The second tier is a senator, and well, basically, a humanoid has to govern for at least a year. Then there's like the third tier that we call a legate, and there's a big difference here. So to become a legate, one should govern for 2 years. But beside that, he has also to participate in the different projects made in the ecosystem, or contribute to the delivery of the code, or in any way to the growth of the ecosystem that can be recorded on chain. We'll talk about this later in detail. We'll talk about formation, but basically, formation is where different goals, achievements can be made to prove your devotion to the system to become the legate. And so one has to govern for 2 years and prove this devotion through formation. And the highest rank is basically legate, is this TF4, and
council,
yeah,
not legate, but
the
council.
the council, yes,
Yes,
the council. Sorry. Basically, one has to govern for 4 years. Then he has to also participate in any devotion delivery thing in the formation, and he has to have like a proposal that he sent to Vortex. This proposal has to be approved at least once, and then he's given the council rights. And the thing is that the progression of tiers doesn't give any voting power. The voting power remains the same. It's always equal to 1, regardless of your tier. What really changes is the ability to make proposal on crucial matters. For example, a citizen or a senator are able to deliver proposals on some UX, UI stuff for applications, some design, some community stuff, something like this. But people that are legates or consuls are able to make proposals, um, on protocol change, on monetary policy change, and stuff like this. The major point is to balance out two things. So people progress in some rank, but it doesn't give them voting power, meaning that they can create proposals which are more crucial, but they're not able to use their overwhelming voting power to just vote everyone else out. And it really balances out, the two things. And another thing, this ability is given to people not because they just own a lot of money and they put the capital into it, but because they like spent 4 years governing nonstop, and they also have proven themselves in some sort of contribution to the ecosystem, and at the same time they have like made some proposal that has been approved by the whole system itself. So it's like proof of time / proof of devotion system of governance, where all individual people are basically equal. And another aspect is that for the humanodes who are not willing to, who don't have time to participate in governance, or who are just, willing to participate in governance somehow, even though they don't have the qualities or expertise for something, they can always delegate their vote to somebody else. And because of that, there's like this, so I'd say, two-chamber system to balance that out as well. It's the proposal pool and the vortex. Basically,
David,
Shannon.
we got one question from Kenneth, Energy Blocks. And his question is, my question is, how can I monitor people selling their vote position to someone?
You can't. No, you can at the same level as you can monitor how your senator in real life sells himself. So it's really dependent on the people there.
And
but
I mean, if you just consider how many votes they would have to buy, the more people that participate, the better, actually. Yeah.
Well, you could argue that if people are willing to sell their vote for something inside the system, then they kind of believe it. They just needed this little touch of money to decide upon it. So it could be called a consensus, really.
Okay, so sorry for interrupting you there. You're going on to one other point concerning the vortex.
Yeah, sure. Basically, the proposal pool and the vortex are two parts that work together. How it works: so any proposal created by any humanode goes into the proposal pool, and every other humanode or governor can vote upon it. They can either upvote it or downvote it, and the principle is that the proposals that get 22% of upvotes or downvotes move to Vortex. And in this chamber, every single person is equal in terms of upvotes and downvotes and their validation power. And delegations, they don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll explain how the chamber of Vortex works, and I'll probably understand why this is happening. So when a proposal gets 22% of all upvotes or downvotes from governors, it goes into the Vortex, and it has like a week to be voted upon by the governors. In Vortex, the delegation works. It means that person's voting power is equal to 1 plus amount of people who delegated or amount of other humanoids who delegated their vote to him. And in this case, the approval that gets 66% out of all the votes gets approved. And the quorum is considered to be in session if 33% of the governance appear. So you need minimum 22% of people to approve stuff in the system this way. Because of that, the amount of people that we calculate to trigger the movement of proposal from the proposal pool to the Vortex is 22% exactly. Meaning that with a big probability chance, this proposal that goes through Vortex, when it already has 22% of upvotes and downvotes of individual governors, it will most likely be able to be voted upon with yes or no without gathering a quorum. So it's a healthy thing that keeps quorum alive at all times, and it's like democratic at the same time. Yeah, so as we now know how the proposal pool works and the Vortex vote works, let's talk about the last part, but not the least, it's the formation. So basically, imagine there's a proposal to DAO from a Humanode that involves some budgetary means or support from the ecosystem vault. The formation vault, by the way, this vault is also decided upon by the governors of the system. The money from the vault goes through only by the vote of the DAO, and it is this vault is created for basically supplying projects on interesting proposals for the evolution of the network through DAO, and democratic consensus of the people behind it. And basically, formation solves two things. So a Humanode made a proposal. It was approved in the Vortex. Then it goes to formation, and the Humanode that made it basically is able to assemble a team from other Humanodes or people outside the system. The thing is that if a Humanode joins the project as a worker and his public address is put inside and is verified on chain, basically it becomes like a publicly known thing and a publicly verified thing that he participated in an ecosystem project, and he can receive the funds for it directly from the formation, and everything stands in place to form a team. So it's like supplying teams with the money from the community vote, which is democratically voted upon by the DAO. Its main focus. So the governance system consists of the proposal pool where all humanoids are equal, from the Vortex where the voting is limited by 1 week time and delegations apply for those who gather support, and also the formation, the thing that allows to form teams and achieve different goals and build projects on the network itself. So this is like the Vortex DAO.
So just as a realistic question here, some votes would require, 2 minutes of thinking, but some proposals might require some in-depth study. Is it always just 1 week, or are there topics that give more time for consideration? For example, if we're talking about, okay, I propose the change of, I don't know, you know, what type of um, bumper sticker we're creating or the logo. And it's like, I propose to change it to this. And people can, think about it and go, yes, no, very, relatively quickly. But if we're talking about, okay, I have this in depth project that will um, require obviously a lot of research and studying, and that will affect many parts of the network. You know, do we have more time to study that proposal, or is it, stuck to 1 week?
I mean, the system is made to be fluid, because when something freezes somewhere, the opinion of people changes like weekly, or maybe even faster, maybe sometimes twice a day. So the thing about Vortex, stuff doesn't stay there for more than 1 week, and it just
Hmm.
gets cleared out. If we cannot sort this out for 1 week, then it goes back to the pool, meaning that it gets thrown back to the person who proposed it, and just says, yeah, you can propose this in 2 weeks. We'll figure it out then, because now we can't. You see.
Yeah, so basically it's requiring, those who are making proposals to actually um, do legwork in advance, shall we say. Because, often, what happens in DAOs is that you get so many proposals and a lot of them are, junk proposals. It's like, how do you sift through all of it? So I guess if
Um,
somebody is serious about their proposal, they would already be um, contacting people, you know, amongst the community, discussing amongst the community, tossing ideas around before they actually put it together.
well, in big scale, on a large scale, it all becomes this. It all depends on the side marketing, because basically, if there's like a lot of proposals,
Hmm.
it's really to define a system that would arguably justify why some proposals are shown and others are not, really. And maybe there's some popular proposal or crucial one, and that everyone knows about in the community. But if there are like hundreds and hundreds of them, because Humanodes just keep making them, some of them might just not get noticed because of many reasons, many. And if somebody would to see somebody would want to see something happen and go through as a proposal, then he would have to create a small marketing strategy on the side, and basically try to um, spread the word about his proposal or something. But I mean, if there's like 1,000 or millions of them, it gets rather complicated
Hmm.
with the overhead of information. It's like the bandwidth problem.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, well, it would be interesting to see how it moves forward. I mean, you know, at the time of a launch, or let's say within the first year, we are hoping to have about anywhere between 1,000 to 10,000 nodes. Let's say we start with 10,000 nodes. Out of these 10,000 nodes, just as a random feeler, how many do you think would be participating in governance? Just a random question.
Well, If 10% will participate, that would be really good.
That's true. So let's say we start, if 10%, so that's 1,000 nodes. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be that bad.
No, it really depends on the people. Really, just I mean, 10,000 speaking at 10%. We'll be happy about it. But the system becomes strong when at least 50% do. At least 50. It's not that much. It's too much, really.
Especially, if we were to be ambitious. I mean, one of our goals in, of course, Humanode is not to just create a small system that is enjoyed by a handful of people who enjoy crypto. As we nurture it, as the community develops, hopefully this will become the foundation of um, a much larger ecosystem that could involve, hopefully at some time, every single living person on Earth. I mean, there are a lot of identities out there that can be, every single person is different. So, hopefully, we want this to evolve to be something that really everybody is involved in. So, as we grow, obviously we will learn, and the DAO will evolve with it. But just keeping it realistic, starting with 10,000. What is your personal goal? Let's say in 4 years' time.
Well, it's a very difficult question, Shannon, because I don't believe like Humanode. Well, I think Humanode for proprietary use for like stuff, it is probably better to use in like private networks.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's a technology, right? It's you can scale it to basically anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you would like to like fork Humanode to something of your own. There's like a module in your own. Yeah, something like this. So governing the system itself, yeah, it would be great to see. The more the people, the better. But it really depends on for what use people are going to scale it. Do they want to scale it for their company or family or friends or something like this? It's just really depends on them. Maybe they want to have like a private network with the same principles, but totally different participants because of real world, focus of some things.
So after shipping first initial version targeting on cyber resistance, we'll be working on the fact that people can participate despite the fact that the consensus has limits of like thousands of nodes. As we will make them transfer data and contribute in another way other than validation, and they will become relay nodes and be like incentivized for that as well.
Yeah, so we're a little past the halfway point in this discussion here. Does anybody else have any questions or any comments, things that they would like to know about the Vortex? This would be the perfect time to raise your hand or type a question out in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer. And while people are thinking about it, or let's see, what else can we talk about, David? Okay, Victor, are you there? Victor?
Well, yeah. So there's like well, this maybe someone's trying to uh-huh. So we can talk about um different dilemmas that democrats are facing,
Okay.
because there's like the thing that we talk about in the white paper
Hmm.
is the iron law of oligarchy, basically. And when we talk about this in the team, we always come up with like different angles where the validation and voting power can start growing inside the system, like Humanode. And we all have different versions. Mostly, like some people are saying that it's basically console, and legates, like a very centralized point. But others are more like keen on saying that people who can amass the most delegations have, the best stunts in the network. What do you think about it, Shen? Where is like the place where the validation power like, just stops growing, even though the system makes everyone virtually equal?
This is actually a fairly tough question. It's always something that we go back and forth with. I mean, it really comes down to why we came up with the proof of devotion system, because in this is as I kind of explained in one of our videos, is that you're preparing, if you're a restaurant, you're serving your customers, you prepare dinners, in order to serve the customers, you have various roles in the restaurant. Everything from making menus to, you know, cooking the chicken to baking the chocolate cakes to, doing hors d'oeuvres to, you know, dressing the staff to doing the architecture for the shop. And they all require different skill sets. All of them are equally important. Um, so, I mean, obviously, you want to hire pros to do those jobs well. At the same time, you know, um, just because we're trying to create a system that goes beyond the regular corporate structure of having a board of directors and people that are dedicated to work and serve the customers. We're really working on trying to evolve this into a more decentralized platform uh, run by humanodes for humanodes. And we want as many people involved as possible. I mean, we don't want to give a small group of people power, including ourselves. We just because uh, there there's a core team of people who started up. It doesn't mean that we get to dictate on everything. This is more, you know, for everybody involved. Everybody will have a voice here. So, in trying to avoid making it too centralized, yet keep it professional, we have the proof of devotion. Various people uh, will be able to vote, those who in tiers that they're most comfortable with. You know, and the more devotion you show towards the community, the more you do to enhance the community and the betterment of the whole community, the more you're recognized as somebody that would be able to understand the various dilemmas and issues at hand, and wouldn't be voting based on populism. So it's I know I'm not really answering your question here, but I really think it's a delicate balance. In order to keep the system fair for all, so that everybody can participate, but also keeping it so the qualified chefs baking the chicken and the chocolate cakes can actually put in, their input based on their professional opinion over, let's say, populist ideas or money talking. I think it's a balance we have to strike here, where people do have to kind of prove themselves to the community as they move forward through proof of time and proof of devotion. And what is your thoughts, Dato?
The devotion dilemma is still there, but it's a thing that any system that is trying to build itself on meritocratic principle faces. Basically, it's really hard to tell the difference between one type of devotion and other type of devotion, because proposals can be different, and some of them might affect small parts of the system. Some of them can be critically tremendously different and change everything at a very large scale. And that in a good governing system trying to base itself on meritocracy, there should be a mechanism that distinguishes different types of devotion, and that's what we're working on right now to be implemented in the future, but it's kind of secret.
Well, it's true that different types. I mean, there are different types of devotions. I'm not quite sure if it's a different type of devotion, but the weight of some pieces of work are definitely more heavier, more advanced than others. The question is, how do we balance it? I mean, it's I guess I'm just thinking, of course, we have a long day at work, come home, my kids are small, they're like, Dad, I helped make dinner. I made dinner. It's like, okay, wonderful. You made dinner. Oh, this is wonderful. Of course, that their they made dinner was they helped chop a couple carrots, whereas the whole process of making dinner was there's somebody else that actually did the cooking and the spicing, and somebody else that actually got the ingredients and made the money to pay for the ingredients, and it's a whole process. But they did something that was up to their ability, and they did help, and it did. Dad does reward them with a big kiss and a big thank you. Doesn't mean their devotion was less than the other people, but it's not necessarily. You don't go to the next day and say, "Okay, I'm going to entrust you in doing a full course meal tomorrow." So, when we're talking about the Tao, it's at a larger scale. So, just finding that balance is going to be quite challenging. You know, although
Kids
go ahead.
cooking meals are a very colorful explanation. Guys, if you have anything to say, if you just tell us, and we'll let you in. And if you have any questions, just write them down. We'll answer them. No problem.
So, David, do you have any ideas concerning how you would balance such a system?
So there's like different points of balance there. The thing is, the first one is that we're trying to balance out the validation power because it's balanced equally among every single human node. Everyone has like the same validation power because it's all about their identities and their like biological uniqueness. And because of that, the power of the vote derives directly from the equal power of validation. And every single person has equal voting power because of that. And I would call that a balanced thing. Would you not?
Yes, I believe it would be.
If you compare it to like proof of work, for example, it's like one of the main things why we decided to go and create Humanode is because proof of work and proof of stake systems, in our opinion, are all leading to plutocracies on large scale. And the thing is that you require a lot of capital for both, and there's no lock on how much you can get by printing money or acquiring mining equipment. And if you are the printing press, like if you are like printing dollars, you can just buy everything. Right? So these systems are really plutocratic at the very, very core. And Humanode is not based on mining that you have to buy and install and infrastructure which you have to maintain. It's not based on capital where you have to be a businessman or have a successful venture to just have your voice heard. Because in like delegated proof stake systems, it's all companies out there in the top validators, and it's just impossible to be an ordinary human being with normal thoughts and not just this entrepreneur. And Humanode make it so that you're just an ordinary human being, and you're just confirming your biometrics every once in a while, and you can directly participate in any kind of form of governance and have the same voting right as anybody else. I mean, this is like the first balancing out principle. Everyone is equal regardless of what you do or can't do. So, and the second one is basically there is like the progress of ranks that is really dependent on the amount of time you carried out being a governor and the amount of devotion that you confirmed and had carried out on chain through working on formation projects and basically participating in the voting procedures themselves. And yes, you move in tiers and you get more proposal rights, but your voting power stays the same. And it's like the second principle of balancing here. I don't know which of them is more important, but there is like a known dilemma between the delegation presence itself. It's a separate, interesting topic. So it's the problem. It's connected to the problem of populism. Basically, being a populist is like one of the best strategies to maintain in power, because your strategy is to just implement any strategy that will give you the most votes and you don't really care about what you're promising. You're just trying to imply yourself to the most like voters in the system through media or through marketing, so that they vote for you, and they do. Or you can be either like defending liberal ideas, or you can be a dictator. You can both be populist, and it's just very, very powerful tool to amass power, voting power in any system. Uh, you just promise people what they want in masses, and that's it. And in systems that are controlled by populists, it's very hard to make very quality decisions, because it's like you have to go through some hard times, for example, or you gotta do something critical to change the situation, but it's going to be painful for somebody in the community, for example. And so it's like there's a child, and you have to give him his medicine, and it doesn't taste good, and like populists just don't give their kids bad medicine that tastes bad, so they would love them. It's the same thing, and they vote for them. And there's always the dilemma in this because of the delegation right. So if people are allowed to delegate, it means that there's like a bunch of people that are not that are not educating themselves in small details about the political situation of the network that they're engaged in, for example, right? And then they're just delegating their voice based on some marketing done by some leader of votes, I don't know. Or they go into normal details and study people and delegate their votes based on thorough research. But not everyone in the world does thorough research. That's the thing.
It's true. So, one of the dilemmas that we've been talking about for a while now is, delegation power. We have delegators. We have currently, we basically say, they're normal humanoids, they're delegators, and then there's governors. What are the pros of having, what is the good side of having people that can delegate? Obviously, there's the downside, where you really have to fight against populism. But what is the upside?
Well, the thing is that you either make a system where people can delegate, and it gets kind of hit by populism, and populism starts to affect it, or you have a system where only people who are actively govern, and like there are no delegations. That's why people actively governing really do govern, and only they participate in governance, and only all of their votes are equal there, and there's like no disproportion in voting power because of the delegations. But because of that, you're making the system kind of more equal, but at the same time you're limiting the voice of people who don't have time to be involved in all the talks about governance, the talks about voting. They just don't have time, and you're kind of cutting them off all of this, and the voters who are participating in this kind of become the elite, because there's just so very few of them. So it's either you create a small elite of governing people, or you make system more populist. It's a dilemma that is really hard to solve.
Or you educate the community and grow with the community so that everybody will want to voice their opinion, populist or not. But I guess it's the gradual process here. Obviously, the more people that participate, the more beneficial it is to the system. If everybody who participates is willing to educate themselves. And I guess, if we build a community that is founded on learning, it would be more fruitful. But anyway, thank you all. Our time here is almost up. If you have any last questions here, please raise your hand. And Dato, do you have any closing remarks?
So there's like Max from Mantra DAO. They ask a question about how we can be integrated. There are a lot of interesting topics to talk about, but I think we should talk about this in private.
Okay.
Max, so sorry for this. This is like a fireside chat. We play guitar some here. And if any of you guys want to say anything, go ahead. We'll listen out. Or, if you have any questions, just bring them out.
Yep. And a minor, obviously we'll be, in the firesides, we'll be talking about various topics concerning Humanode. And if anybody wants to hear about a specific topic, please contact us. Please talk to us. Or otherwise, you might find out that some episodes you'll be stuck listening to us talking about our latest and greatest battle in EU4 or Crusaders Kings 3, which Dato is almost a professional at. Or you might end up listening to him play the guitar for a couple hours, which is also quite good too.
Okay.
And by request, he can also sing too. So yes. Oh, okay. We have some hands raised here.
Hey guys.
Okay, I saw Chris raising his hand.
I already unmuted them both,
okay.
So they can talk. Yes, Mom. You wanted to say something, buddy?
Hi there. It was by mistake. Sorry, I'm just listening.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So hey there. First of all, thanks a lot for this interesting talk. I really like your project. Maybe my question is also not too much related to the topic, but I read on LinkedIn that you're thinking about also onboarding some private investors, some private people. Who may I talk about this?
Oh, we can talk about this in private. You can contact us.
Okay, perfect. Because I tried to do the Telegram channel, but so far I could not reach. Sorry?
There's a mail on the website as well.
Hello?
And there's a mail on the website.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll try this one. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Okay.
Okay.
Not, yep.
Well, everyone's shy. All right.
Okay. It's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, Niels want to say something. Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Niels, what's up?
See?
Oh, sorry. Was I muted?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. So I don't really have any questions, but I just want to say that it's super cool that you guys are organizing these events. So next time I'll have some more in-depth stuff.
Oh, thanks.
Wonderful. We'll be doing this once every 2 weeks. So
would you want to talk about something next week or this moment? Talking to you, Niels.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't aware. No, nothing specific right now. I have some thoughts, but I'll write them down and then come in prepared for the next meeting. I'll let you know in advance what these
Sure,
topics will
man.
be.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then. Well, if if you guys have nothing else to say, or if you have any other questions by Vortex and that would pop up later, we can message us and we'll gladly answer. So I guess thank you very much for coming, and this is all for today. From now on, there's just going to be a real chat on private things and stuff that doesn't concern Vortex. So it's up to you to stay or not.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all.